just watching the world go nuts,
Right? So it is crazy, and it's we're trying to filter out or trying to make sense of all of this the best that we can here. Last time I had you on, you met with, I want to make sure I say this right and correct me if I'm wrong. You met with the administration about the Ukraine, working out the Ukraine war, Ukraine-Russian war. You had provided some off-ramps, if you would, some alternatives to that. Is that what we're seeing right now? Because it does look to be winding down here.
Um, I, I believe so. I think, uh, first, I was surprised to be called in, and even asked to draft a peace solution. Um, they know we have offices everywhere, and I have had contacts into Russia for decades, and they called me in, and they actually asked for me to use my back channels. I said, "You really want me to do that?" And they said, "Yes." So I did get the the plan that I wrote on Putin's desk. And then a couple days later, Lavrov came out and said Russia's willing to guarantee we're not interested in going into NATO. Which is basically what I think I've managed to at least change the narrative. And so what, even in subsequent meetings, I was told that we agree with you, you're correct. We're not going to be at war with Russia, but they said it's going to be China. So it's largely what I laid out was that every country that surrounds Ukraine all have said the same thing for decades. If you shake hands with a Ukrainian, don't count your fingers, make sure you still have your arm. They're just notorious as the most corrupt government in the world. I mean, you just had Zelensky's, right-hand man get caught with 100 million stealing. I mean,
right.
It's appalling that we have people spinning this narrative. Oh, you got to be supporting Ukraine. How much are you getting back in kickbacks? There's too much money floating around. I warned the administration that a few months ago it came out, and then it dies off, that Zelensky was wiring 50 million a month to accounts in the UAE. And they go, "Really?" I said, "Yes, here." And it made the press for a little while, and then it dies out. So how much since then? We've given them another 300 million. What? It's really disgusting.
Yeah.
And what's going on in Europe, I explained that the real enemy is the EU, not Russia.
Yeah, talk about that. I really want to work that out because it seems like Europe needs a war. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. Europe is absolutely desperate at this stage in the game. This is what happens when governments know that their days are numbered. They get more authoritarian. You're seeing them shutting down free speech, stuff like that. They think they can retain power by oppressing the people. And this is standard operating procedure throughout history. It's not unique. You just saw the EU come out and say that they're basically going to freeze the money they have from Russia. Why? Pick up the rug a little bit. To put in sanctions as they've used, it requires 100% vote from all members. Okay? Moving it to a freeze, they no longer need to do that. So you're getting dissent like from Hungary, others.
Yeah.
And what they've done is absolutely a violation of international law. The assets of a central bank, according to international law, cannot be frozen. All right. So everything they do is illegal. And this is part of really showing that the EU is not, one, trustworthy, and two, they're in dire straits. You don't do this for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, and as you know, I was called in when they were forming the euro. And so what happened was, I explained this is how we created currency, etc. And you wanted to compete with the dollar, which was actually a most people don't realize, but that was the request of the United States out of 1985 out of the Plaza Accord, that the dollar had gone up so high because there was no competition. So that was Jim Baker basically saying that if Europe, created a single currency, then that would compete against the dollar and prevent the dollar from going up to record highs all the time. That's when the British pound went to par, etc. And it was all over trade. They felt the dollar was up too high, so therefore that reduces the number of widgets we can sell.
Right.
So, I was called in on that. I think I successfully kept Britain out of the pound, or the pound out of the euro. They staged a coup against Margaret Thatcher, but then they stuck the pound in the ERM trying to take it in. And the problem with Europe since World War II, because the currencies went to basically zero, the governments use the currency as a validity that they've done well.
Right.
This was why we became really the number one advisor in foreign exchange, because when I was opening an office in Geneva in 1985, I had gone to lunch and we were thinking of creating a European name like European Advisors or something like that. And I went to lunch with one of the top bankers there, and he asked me, he says, name one European analyst. And I was embarrassed because I couldn't at the time. I said, look, I'm sure there are, I just don't know any. And he laughed and he says, there are none. And he says, everybody uses you. And I said, no. And he said, because you don't care if the dollar goes up or down. And he explained to me, and then I realized what he was talking about. After World War II, the politicians used the currency as proof that they did a good job. Vote for me, the Deutschmark's up 10% against the dollar, that shows they did a good job. So if it became almost treason to say the Deutschmark would go down, you're now against the government, all right? So no institution would ever allow their analysts to ever put out a bearish comment on any European currency.
Yeah.
That's what the problem was with Britain. When they did this coup against Maggie, they took the pound in to the ERM and they overvalued it to show it's strong. Okay? Well, it was overvalued. So then everybody knew that. Soros got most of the blame, but he starts shortening it, and then the pound breaks. It's all because of politics.
Right.
The same thing, I got called into the Swiss bank, and when they had the peg on with the euro. And I said, look, peg's going to break. And they said, no, we think we can hold it. Same nonsense. I said, well, look, I mean, I think the odds are on my side. No government's ever been able to do this.
Yeah.
The peg breaks. They named me, I think it was Forex Advisor of the Year because of that. I mean, I've just dealt with governments for so long. I've been behind the curtain. I see what makes them move.
Yeah.
And it's not as sophisticated as a lot of people think.
Right. Well, work that out a little bit more then. What's the EU? What's going to happen to the EU and the euro? Do you see that disintegrating now? And do you see this freezing of Russian central bank assets as another provoking even more that Russia will expand the war, if you would, Ukraine? God, I hope, because they've shown a lot of restraint. So,
look, I mean, the whole problem is honestly that you have the American neocons occupy a lot of seats in NATO. All right, you had Dick Cheney endorsed Camilla. You had Kinzinger, who was supposedly a Republican, on the January 6th committee, saying we can take Russia in 3 days. They were all against Trump. Excuse me. Mainly because he was anti-war. Mm-hmm. They always want their endless wars.
Right.
And everything they accuse Russia of is exactly what they do. Oh, they want to expand. No, it's you that want to expand. Mm-hmm. All right, they expanded NATO right up to the borders after promising they never would. It's always the same shit. And so when I got called in creating the euro, I explained that you have to consolidate the debt in order to compete with the dollar. Yeah. And at the time, Helmut Kohl was the chancellor, and he admitted before he died, if he allowed the German people to vote, he would have lost 7-3. Mm-hmm. So he took Germany into the euro unilaterally. And his condition was no consolidation of the debt. Because he felt that the Germans would view it as bailing out Greece or Italy, stuff like that. And I warned them. I said, this is going to fail.
Yeah.
From a trader's perspective, I can pick up the phone and say, buy me $10 billion worth of U.S. treasuries. No problem.
Right.
With Europe, I still have to make the same decision as if the euro didn't exist.
Right.
Do I want Italy? Do I want France? You just look at all the peripherals, the spreads between them. This is why there is no federal debt for Europe. Mm-hmm. So you're still with the same country risk of each individual one. So nothing really changed. And that's why the euro has never been able to compete with the dollar. Right. Because you still got, as a fund manager, you still got to make the same decision as if the euro didn't exist.
Yeah. Do you see it going away then?
Yeah, I don't see it lasting really beyond 2030. For example, I can tell you right now, from my sources, that they realize that there are problems, and that the euro can collapse. And I warned them about this. And when they moved forward and created the euro, I was told back in 1998, okay, we understand what you're saying. We just have to get the euro in and we'll worry about the debt later. Here we are 26 years later, and nobody talked about the debt problem yet.
Right.
They were just interested in creating the bureaucracy. So now you have Italy, for example. Its debt is unsustainable, and this is applying throughout Europe. Because they've also had climate change, nonsense. Then you had, the COVID nonsense, and then you have the socialistic agenda. You can look at GDP on the Fed, St. Louis website, and compare it to the United States. It's a tiny fraction of the United States.
Right.
Unemployment in Greece, they're saying the real numbers are over 50% among the youth. It's well over 10% in most European countries. Then you allow migrants in. Right. You already have unemployment for your own people. And now you're letting these people come in?
Yeah. Of course they're going to be upset. Yeah, of course.
Every decision they have made has been absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
The climate change, cutting down flights that are only, because it's only 2 hours, so let them use a train or walk there or something. I mean, I had a meeting in Berlin, and then I had in the morning, and I had a meeting in Rome in the afternoon. I had to hire a private jet to get there. I mean, I said, these are two capitals, and there's no direct flights, only like 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, this is nuts.
Yeah.
I never had to use a private jet to get to a meeting.
Right.
This is for climate change, you see.
Right. Well, talk about. Go ahead.
If you look at Germany, for example, their economy is shrinking.
Yeah.
All right, it's 25% of the EU. You did the climate change, you did the COVID nonsense, and then you put the sanctions on Russia. All right, energy costs have gone through the ceiling. Manufacturers declining. There's only 2 countries in the world where their economy is actually shrinking, and that's Japan and Germany. I mean, this is not a bullish scenario longer term here.
Right.
And the discussions I've had is basically what's going on. They realize that they got problems with member states.
Yeah.
This will, and I've warned them. I said, this is going to be like 2010 with Greece.
Jeez. In Germany.
I'm not an academic. I'm a trader. So I'm not dealing with theories. All right.
Yeah.
What happened in 2010? Everybody made a lot of money shorting Greece.
Yeah.
What did they say in the trading rooms? Who's next?
Yeah, exactly. I remember it very well. Go ahead.
So, I mean, this is what the academics don't get. They really just, it's all theory to them. Yeah. But you get one country whose debt is in crisis. You're going to have another contagion.
Yeah.
Now, what makes the euro so dangerous, our banks, the reserves are only federal debt, not Illinois, California, Mississippi. All right. Because then if you get one state that gets in trouble, then who's next? You're going to look. Right. All right. So our banking system is much more solid.
Okay.
It's not. The banks, because there's no federal debt, they have a cornucopia of the debt of all these member states. What will happen? You're going to look and say, if it's Italy or France, for example, who has the most debt? Short that bank.
Got it.
All right, so then you're going to look at a banking crisis.
Yeah.
On top of that, you got the sovereign debt crisis, which impacts all the pension funds.
Yeah.
They have to have 70% of government debt.
Yeah. When is this hitting? When is this going to hit? Is it hitting right now?
I think that's what part of the freezing of the assets of Russia is.
To pay for this or backstop it.
The rumors are that France has got 70 billion and they've been dipping into that. You've had the French finance minister admit publicly France might need an IMF bailout. Same thing with the UK. I mean, this is an absolute mess.
Yeah. So is this intentional? That's my question. Is this just stupidity or is this almost intentional? Because can they be that stupid is what I'm trying to ask.
Because, first of all, I mean, I've dealt with governments a lot, and a lot of these conspiracy theories are nonsense. Why? Because they're giving these people way too much, credit. They're not that smart. I mean, I warned them in 1998. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay? You can see it in the long term. No problem.
And it's happening.
It's not intentional. It's like, well, I'll get to that next week, and they never do. Then it just erupts, and then I get the phone call, gee, can you come here?
And fix it. Yeah.
They expect me to fix something in like 24 hours, and it's just, I took my son-in-law because he heard me talk. I said, you sure you want to see what I see? I took him to Capitol Hill. I was in meetings all day. When he left, he goes, holy shit, they don't know anything. I said, I told you. Give people way too much credit.
Got it. Okay, well, you mentioned one thing. You said China's next. Talk about that. What do you mean China's next? And then number two, wrap Venezuela into this because it looks like Venezuela is now. So go ahead.
All right. Venezuela, the number one client is China.
Got it.
All right.
Got it.
China is... China knows it's their time. Okay, we have offices in China, so I was probably the first Westerner to be called in back in 1997, during the Asian currency crisis. I went, was called in by the central bank. I wanted to go see the Great Wall. I thought I'd have to listen to some more bureaucrats. That was about it. And I was surprised. Met with the central bank, and they were all traders. They'd all been sent out, worked on dealing desk in New York, London, Tokyo, and then went back to run the central bank. Then I understood why they called me and not somebody from Harvard. Actually, when I got back, guys from the Treasury and the Fed both called me and said, gee, what was it like? You're the first person to go. And I said, I just stuck the knife in the back and I turned it. I said, very interesting. They only hire people with experience.
Yeah.
China has looked at the U.S. model and they looked at Europe. Mm-hmm. And they could see that Europe is going to collapse. Mm-hmm. They're highly regulated. Not. Look, they follow Marx just like communism did. A lighter version, like Bud Light. With less calories or something. But economically, it's a disaster. Mm-hmm. And look, I think it was Home Depot, or I think it was Home Depot. The IPO of that was worth more than 10 years of IPOs.
Gosh.
If you look at the capitalization of just the New York Stock Exchange, it's more than the capitalization of all European exchanges combined.
Yeah.
Europe is such a tiny fraction because it's always about how much money you got, where did it come from, stuff like this. They're just socialists throughout they cancel the currencies routinely. Mm-hmm. So you can't stash 100,000 euros. They'll cancel it, forces you to bring it out. Oh, where'd you get this? Did you pay your taxes? That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
This is partly why the dollar is the reserve currency. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't understand this. Yeah. The dollar has never been canceled. Yeah. About 70% of paper dollars that are actually printed are outside the United States. That's why quantitative easing didn't work. Mm-hmm. I warned them. I said, this is not going to work. But again, you're dealing with academics. Mm-hmm. Theory, all right, I'm buying in the 30-year bonds. So I'm reducing the supply, and that should lower the interest rates for mortgages. Sounds nice. Mm-hmm. Owns the 30-year bonds. China said, thank you very much, dumped the 30s, moved to 5. The money was going out of the country.
Yeah.
Then you have academics. Oh, MMT. See, we can increase the money supply and no inflation. Again, academics, theory. They don't know shit, honestly. Right. The money went out of the country. So it didn't stay in the United States. So, yes, there was no inflation. Yeah. You increased the balance sheet, very nice. But where did it go? They act as if everything's a fishbowl. Yeah. They really don't understand that it's a global economy. Sorry.
Well, did you see then, you just made a key point a couple minutes ago, this invasion or taking over of oil tankers in Venezuela, is that indirectly is an affront to China, correct?
Yeah, look, the Trump is basically reasserting the Monroe Doctrine. Right, he wanted China out of Panama. This is really what's behind it. But Venezuela also has the largest oil reserves. Mm-hmm. It's more than Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's huge.
But we're not talking about invading Bangladesh here. Why don't we go after Guatemala? There's no profit in it. Yeah. This is why Russia is not interested in invading Europe. There's no profit in it.
There's nothing there, yeah.
Nothing there. All the energy they got to get comes from Russia. No gold reserve. What are you going to get? You're going to walk into France, and the French are going to say, you're going to pay our pensions now. That's it.
Right. Yeah, there are no assets worth having.
Opposite. NATO wants to go into Europe. NATO is scared to death. Mm-hmm. If the EU breaks up, NATO's dead. Yeah. How do they go to war? They're now threatening everybody. Oh, Putin's going to come in and take everything. Give us 5% of your entire GDP, and so we can pay our salaries and our pensions. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Venezuela is the Monroe Doctrine, basically. If we take that, and I don't have confirmation on this, but I would suspect, opinion, all right? All the American oil companies, they got greasing every palm they possibly can to get their fingers into the pie in Venezuela. Yeah. You get that, national security, you no longer need to worry about the Middle East. Yeah. Yeah. You're kicking China out. So, so all this is kind of really tied in here. The whole BRICS thing is, was created because of the stupidity in the Biden administration. You have Blinken, who was a neocon, I think from birth probably, and removed Russia from SWIFT.
Yeah.
I should point out, in 2014, Obama went to SWIFT and wanted them to remove Russia when they went into Crimea. Mm-hmm. Right? SWIFT refused. They said, you're not going to turn the world monetary system into a weapon. So what did they do? They replaced the head of SWIFT in 2019, and he does whatever he's told.
Yeah.
So once they removed Russia from SWIFT, again, you now use this as geopolitical. Mm-hmm. That created BRICS. Yeah. And all these other countries start saying, wait a minute, if we don't do what Blinken orders us to do, he'll do that to us. So then they created BRICS. He even threatened China. Oh, if you help Russia in this, we can do the same to you. Really? You're destroying the entire world economy, you asshole, in my opinion. That's the problem with these neocons. Yeah. All they look at is their geopolitical goal. Mm-hmm. Okay. China owned 10% of the U.S. national debt. They started dumping $50 billion at a clip. You want to sell debt so you can wage another endless war? Who's going to buy it? Yeah. They don't know anything about the economy at all. Putting sanctions on Russian oil, does this really help Germany? No. It's declining. It's shrinking. Oh, but look, we're serious. We'll go to zero just to prove you're wrong. Right. That's what I mean. It's these conspiracy theories about these politicians. Trust me. You're way overrating these people. That's the good news. The bad news is that they're so dumb. It is. It makes it easy to manipulate. What's going on in Europe? You've got the American neocons really in charge of NATO. Mm-hmm. You have all these world leaders over there, Macron, Stammer, Merz, all against Trump. Why? Because they've been told that, Trump is on the wrong side. We're going to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. So Trump says we want peace. No, we want war. Yeah. They have to say the opposite. Yeah. The politics have become so polarized. If Trump said the sky's blue, no, he's wrong. It's red. Right. It's just, it's no longer, okay, fine. Does that help the country or not? That's no longer the issue. Yeah. He said this, we have to go the opposite, regardless how stupid it is. Yeah. Yeah, you just shake your head. You do. I mean, this is the computer warned that the Democratic Party was going to split. Everybody said, really? I said that at our WEC, not this year, but the year before. And I said, now I get, holy shit, how does the computer figure that out? I said, because it's not unique. All right? Jefferson's party was the Democratic Republican Party. It split. Yeah. Then Republicans split over with Teddy Roosevelt, created the Progressive Party. I mean, these things are normal. Mm-hmm. All right, it's not abnormal. The Federalists, Washington, Adams, all that, it died. Right. All right. Because they want centralized power. That's what the Democrats were doing again. Mm-hmm. We're going to centralize everything. We're going to tell you, when you got to take a shower and when not to. Right. Yeah. And whenever a government gets that authoritarian. It falls.
Yeah. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, look, Russia, the same thing.
Yeah.
Lenin's idea was a union where all the republics retain sovereignty, like the United States. And he wrote a letter, said, "Do not let Stalin secede me." It's widely rumored that Stalin even poisoned Lenin.
Yeah.
He grabbed power, and then what did he do? He centralized everything.
Yeah.
Republics no longer had sovereignty. It's always the same story. It's throughout history. I think it's just human nature. And what people have to understand, because you get the socialists, and they always like, oh, rich people, they're evil, whatever. A guy starts a small business, he tries to expand it. Human nature. All right? Put somebody in government, what's he do? This same thing, tries to expand it.
Yeah.
Okay? If you think, I'd rather see, a bunch of billionaires. Why? Because they don't have an army with guns.
Right.
Besides, got the army with guns and tanks, and they're worried about what you say, what you do, where you go. I don't even, I buy classic cars anymore because, just like with Porsche, they cut off the satellites and all Porsches in Russia didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Because they have to constantly, ET has to phone home.
Yeah.
I bought a 2015 Porsche, and the trunk was open maybe a quarter of an inch. Maybe. I came out in the morning, battery's dead. I said, what the hell happened? All night long, it's got an ET has to phone home. Oh, trunk open. Shut it for me?
Yeah.
Give me a phone call. Hey, your trunk's open? No. So it just consumes the battery all night. You come out you get in the car and it doesn't work because the trunk's open a quarter inch.
Yeah.
It's just, they have to know everything you're doing anymore, where you drove. Google will routinely give you a report where everything you went, tracking your phone.
Yeah.
It's
mind-blowing.
This is the world we live in. They got to know everything about us.
Yeah. Well, Martin, let's land the plane there here. If people want to do business with you, if they want to read more of their stuff, and you're very well known, but if people that don't know you, how do they find you and how do they do business with you?
You can go to armstrongeconomics.com. It's a completely open source. We're not even blocked in China or Russia even. We don't sell advertising, and you don't have to put in an email to even read anything. So we try to keep it as an open source for the entire world. That's why we're not blocked anywhere. Largely, you don't have to worry about, China doesn't have to worry about page 3, by the way, overthrow your government or something, So and they also know that the forecasts are coming from the computer. It's not simply my opinion. Everybody has an opinion. That's fine. Yeah. But, a computer monitors the entire world, and it's
very data driven.
Yeah, so that's basically it. It's not really looking at it from a political standpoint. It doesn't get the vote, So that's largely what we try to do, is provide an unbiased view of the entire world. Yeah. Once somebody understands how to use the computer, the computer is the first AI ever, really. It's got a 40-year track record, and it writes reports on over 1,000 instruments every day. There aren't that many analysts in the world to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll put a link to all the show notes below on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Martin, love to have you on again in January to set up the year for us. But yeah, we'll drop this soon, and we'll see you then.
Thank you. Be careful the first quarter. That's if they're going to do a false flag, it's probably when we're going to see it.
I will keep that in mind. We'll have you on again really soon in the first quarter. Thank you, Martin.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.